CEDH time here. I'm Braden.
I'm Indel.
Today we have an awesome topic, split second in CEDH. This is the new thing. Not new, it's been around for a long time, but this is the thing that you need in your deck to stay on top of the meta shift happening currently.
You gotta have split second cards in your deck because the sloppy decks that are running around are now running split second, and if you do not have them, you're not going to be able to keep up with what they're doing.
We want to go over the split second cards. We have Sudden Substitution.
Yeah, we're looking at an instant 2/2 blue with split second. This one says exchange control of target non-creature spell and target creature. Then that spell's controller may choose new targets for it.
Correct.
Yeah, this one's pretty correct. You're mostly taking Ranger Captains and Valley Flood Callers, maybe a Hexing Squelcher, and
A storm killing artist. It depends. Depending on what is on the field, you can steal creatures with this. That's the important thing. You could be like, oh, I have a pact of negation that you can't pay for. I'm gonna steal this creature, use it for the value, and then you'll die on your turn to the pact trigger that you can't pay for. Or there's a decon on this deck. I'm gonna switch out the decon with your Ranger Captain. Good luck. Now that's kind of a cute way to use it. That's not really as practical. The more practical thing is like you chain a vapor or something, or you cast like a Gataxium probe or whatever, any kind of spell that you want to just give to your opponent for whatever, and then you just you get their OP thing.
yeah, and typically you're going to be using this so late in the game, so deep into the final stack war, that you can just give them something random that's buried and is never going to resolve. That doesn't matter anymore.
There's so many counter spells and so many things on the end game stack that end up developing. You could literally give them anything. So it's pretty cool. The next one we want to talk about is Wipe Away.
Yeah, Wipe Away is 1/2 blue, instant with split second. It says return target permanent to its owner's hand. You're generally hitting a tithe with this, maybe a Stormkiln Artist, but you can hit any permanent. And so if you're not like trying to win a big sloppy game, you can hit Cradles, you can hit Resolved Underworld Breaches, you can hit all kinds of stuff with this.
E-Zone. So if there's like a Tim Dargo player with no blue, but they pass turn and they have they have a bunch of treasures and they have an E-Zone, clearly they want to win over the top of the stack when the time is right, you can take away their window to win the game. Wipe that away. So nice.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
The other thing that's really cool, Sudden Sub and Wipe Away, both blue, so they're pitchable to all your other free interactions. So it works really good with like the Ristic draw meta. Drawing cards is what I mean, not going to draw. Ironically,
if you end up
draws.
Tithe, you pitch them.
Yeah, correct. Unironically, draws though are happening less in our games as we have these sloppy games. There is a winner that happens. Kind of cool. All right, next one, Word of Seizing.
Yeah, Word of Seizing, we've got 3/2 red for an instant, split second, and it says untap target permanent and gain control of it until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. So it's a lot like a Wipe Away, where you get to break parity and take value away from your opponents. But you get the value, so it's even more important. Like, if you guys both wipe away each other's tithes, nobody has a tithe. But if you Word of Seizing their tithe, you're going to be up 2 tithes. And if they wipe away you still have 1.
If you have a lot of mana and there's an E-Zone, you can take their E-Zone, crack their E-Zone, get flash speed, and then win the game, or try to win the game. There's so many things you can do with this. Take guys Cradles, like Indel said, you can take Breach Lines, you can take Smothering Tithe, anything. Ristic Study.
Take a fun color.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very cool.
Next one is Angel's Grace, a little bit controversial of a card. This card is kind of why things are forming the way they're forming in the meta right now.
Yeah, there was a time when Angel's Grace was really bad. It says it's 1 white for an instant with split second. It says you can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead.
Yep.
Before, you could really only like use this to stop Thassa's Oracle win, and people weren't really doing that. They were winning with Breach. And it's not that hard to beat Angel's Grace if it's your own turn, because you can just pitch your commander to discard, which makes a state-based action and gives you priority.
It's like fake protection. Like the words "you can't lose the game this turn," because it falls off during cleanup, you actually can still win the game. You can play around it. And so a lot of newer players think, oh my gosh, I can't lose the game and you can't win. But all the seasoned vets, they're like, I can play around this so easy. And Indel's going to explain to you all the ways you can get around this card.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's Now it's not as reliable to discard your commander because it's typically not your turn when you're trying to win. And a lot of the win conditions right now are focused on winning right on top of the stack.
So like for people who didn't
And
know, you if you go to your cleanup and you discard down a hand size, if you discard your commander to your graveyard, it actually causes a state-based action to change your commander from the graveyard to the command zone, which gives a round of priority, which means Angel's Grace has fallen off, and then you can now win the game through Angel's Grace. So that used to be what people would do to beat this. They would just bounce their commander off the field back to their hand, go to cleanup, get around Angel's Grace. But because the end game uh, to win the game is typically not on your own turn now, you can't convince someone else to do that for you most of the time because that someone else is already losing the game. So they don't care if they're going to lose to you or someone else. So that play pattern of trying to win around Angel's Grace doesn't work anymore. But now there are some that do work. Go for it.
yeah, we you can basically reduce them to you can reduce the Angel's Grace player to 0 life using loss of life instead of damage, which Angel's Grace doesn't prevent. And then when you go to cleanup, you'll win because they'll just die, and a draw only happens like after that. So you don't have to discard your commander. If you reduce them to 0 life, you can also create a state-based action another way. Like you could crew your imposter mech, and
Mm-hmm.
then you could like hit it with amphibian downpour, and then when you go to cleanup on that turn, it'll turn back into an artifact. And since it's not a creature anymore, the downpour will have to fall off as a state-based action, which will make a round a priority, and then you can, activate Fairy Mastermind the last time and kill them.
Yep.
So there are ways to beat Angel's Grace. You can also use Blind Obedience. That's what I'm trying right now. You just put them to 1 life, and then you Blind Obedience to extort them for the last one, and then go to cleanup.
Yep. I'm using Witch's Mark and Krark. It puts a Witch's Mark aura on them, and then when the Witch's Mark hits the graveyard, they lose a life. That's why I'm getting
Yeah.
around it.
We got to talk about Molten Disaster as well,
Oh
because
yeah,
Angel's
sure.
Grace is
True,
kind of
true,
a
true.
combo with Molten Disaster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's Angel's Grace isn't really being played for just the Angel's Grace part. It's also being played for Molten Disaster, which
Mm-hmm.
is X and 2 red for a sorcery with kicker red. And if you pay the kicker, it has split second. And it says Molten Disaster deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. So in theory, if you have flash and you have 43 mana, you can cast this and win the game,
Yeah. In
as long
theory.
as you Angel Grace yourself.
The way that AppNap works though in priority, it typically for a Raw Shy player or someone playing the Molten Disaster Angel's Grace combo, in order for them to recur enough value at the table without your opponents being able to prevent it and bury your triggers like your Ska triggers or your Spelling Tide triggers on the stack, is if they're like last in priority for AppNap. That being said, if they are last in priority in AppNap, when they go to cast Angel's Grace, and that resolves instantly, priority goes to the active player because the spell left the stack. And since the Angel's Grace Molten Dupe player is last in priority, everybody who has Angel's Grace at the table now has the opportunity to cast their own Angel's Grace to prevent them from losing to Molten Disaster. So this play pattern, very strong, instant speed win, is also very telegraphed, and you can easily play around it. And then if there is a player that has a priority first that wants to do this combo, you just have to use your Angel's Grace sooner in that stack battle before they get to that amount of treasures where this combo is going to kill you. So there's a lot of play patterns with this where you can actually play around it.
Yeah. So like Angel's Grace weirdly gets better now because you
Yep.
basically force people to actually resolve a silence to win the stack, and you force them to take it to clean up as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't win with Bolton Disaster. You can't just like get a cheap Fairy Mastermind 2 tides win. You got to actually silence, actually mind break trap the stack, and actually make it to clean up.
Yep. Now, if you're not following here, that's fine. There's a lot of good decks out there that we call Bracket 5 CEDH. We're talking about Bracket 6. This is like the most powerful of all powerful. And until you see this happening and you play into this and you witness these games happening, it's really hard to like wrap your mind around this like whole concept that we're talking about. But this is like the highest echelons of CEDH right now. I guess we'll talk a little bit about Trickbind.
Yeah. Trickbind is another really interesting split second spell. There's a few mini games that occur with the ones we've talked about so far around like Smothering Tide and Valley Flood Caller, and Trickbind doesn't really participate in those mini games as much. and we'll kind of get into that later.
Hmm.
But what Trick Mine does really well is it stops basically any win that's not under World Breach.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a massive list of things that it
You want to just
hits.
read them real quick?
Yeah, we can hit Thoracle triggers, Magda activations, Thrasios activations, Sisay activations, Otawara, Beseju, your own pack trigger, a Final Fortune trigger. Not that we're playing that. Ranger Captain cracks, Breeze Color activations, which is huge because typically they're just going to go on top of anything you do. Storm triggers for like Flusterstorm. You could hit Hulk. You could hit Emergent Zone activation. You can stop time activations, PFB cracks, Kitten activations. You can hit an Emrakul cast trigger. You can hit Basalt untaps. Scion activations, Rowan activations. There's just basically anything that's not Underworld Breach
Did you say blind
that you're gonna.
obedience? Did you say blind obedience?
Yeah, you could stop one blind obedience extort,
Yep.
but yeah, it basically stops anything that you want that's not Breach, and it's very strong.
Yeah. So, pretty awesome thing. We got the whole long list from Matt Hayes, so shout out to him. But yeah, this card right here, super impactful, super good, and it's blue, so it's pitchable, which is nice to a lot of your other cards. Um,
Yeah,
the other card we want to shout out real quick before we get into like the mini games is Sudden Shock. This card's been really good. Won me 2 games yesterday. You're able to get rid of the Ska, get rid of the Valley Flood Color, anything really prevalent that has 2 damage. You can just boom remove it. No one can respond to it. It's really nice. I guess yeah. With that, I mean, we can really just get into
the mini
the
games.
mini
Yeah,
games. All right, so what we want to explain real quick is if everyone has Rhystic Study, everyone has mana, everyone has a lot of cards in their hand. They're all on parity, is what we call it. In order to break that parity, you need to be on split second. So the only way to maintain parity through a split second person is to also have split second in your deck, and that's what we're trying to help explain to, I guess, everybody watching the video is that split second is so powerful. If your opponents are running it and you're not running it, they're going to win late game. If they're running it and you're running it, that brings us into these mini games that happen. You want to go ahead and talk about the Valley Flood Color mini game?
yeah. So the flood collar mini game basically occurs when you have a flood collar in play and you're looking at sudden substitution and word of seizing in your hand. And if you're the only person who has those spells in your deck, you can just basically sit there, not do anything, wait for somebody to resolve a Valley Flood Color, take it with Sudden Sub, Angel's Grace, and then Molten Disaster and win. So that's like the base case for if you have split second and nobody else does, you really don't care what people are doing and you can just wait and steal somebody's flash.
Yeah.
And now if both players have split second and you try to steal their Flood Color with Sudden Sub, they steal it back with their Sudden Sub. You try to take it with your word of seizing, and they take it back with their word of seizing. So now it matters who resolves the first flood caller, and it matters who has to use their split second spell first, because you're always going to be advantaged if you use your split second spell last. So the flood caller minigame basically becomes letting a third party resolve a flood caller and trying to bluff or bait one of the other split second players into taking the flood caller first, into thinking it's a window, and then you're able to go on top of that.
Yeah, imagine that you resolve your Valley Flood Caller, and you're used to being like, all right, Valley Flood Caller, everyone's passing on it, cool. You know, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, all your free rocks then come out, and then you push for the win over the top. Now it's like Valley Flood Caller just resolved, cool. I'm gonna go play Mox Diamond. All of a sudden, someone's like, here's a sudden sub, or here's a because typically when Valley Flood Caller is resolving, there's still a ton of things on the stack that are never going to resolve it either way. So you could just give your opponent some card on the bottom of that stack that's never going to resolve, and you can steal their Valley Flood Caller. That's why it's so powerful. So they think they're going to go for the win now, and all of a sudden they're way behind if they don't have split second to get it back from you.
Yeah, and another important thing is that if you are the active player, then it matters a lot less. Like if you're going to go for a Molten Disaster line, for example, like you can just sudden sub the Flood Caller and people aren't getting priority again until after you put your Molten Disaster on the stack.
Yep.
So there you need to like preemptively Angel's Grace, but if the active player is not involved in the split second minigame, then things get a lot more interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, the active player can't really be allowed to like you can't put a Flood Caller into play if the active player has split second in their deck.
So typically in these long stack battle games, you want to be last in AppNap, but after you get the huge stack happening, after all these triggers are going on, you're actually incentivized. You actually want to push now on your turn if you're going to go for that molten dupe combo because you're going to have all the active all the priority. You're gonna all your split second spells are all gonna happen before your opponents can even cast a spell because they're never gonna have priority. And so if you're in a situation where you're second or third in priority and that person in first seat is pushing right now on their turn, they have app nap. You have to be very cautious about putting in a Valley Flood Caller into play, putting in a Watering Archaic, putting in a Mayhem Devil. There's so many creatures now that they could just take and then abuse, and you'll never get priority again if they have their combo with Angel's Grace and Molten Dupe already ready to go. Molten Disaster.
Yeah, it just heavily incentivizes you to play your own Angel's Grace
Mhm.
or to wipe away like the Sundering Tithe before they make that much mana. But it's often tough to wipe away a tithe when someone's at parity. Like if the whole table's at parity and you wipe away somebody's tithe, you're going to be interpreted as pushing. So it can be challenging. You kind of have to communicate with the table and coordinate. Like, look, this guy's got split second. We can't let him
Mhm.
make all these treasures. But often you're going to hurt yourself making those kind of politics because you're also running split second. So it's definitely an interesting balance to juggle. And as long as you're on Angel's Grace, you can allow Rogeshai to make that many treasures because he's not going to kill you with Molten Disaster.
Yeah. This kind of brings us to like our next little point is split second is so powerful. The only way to actually deal with it is to politic it. So if you're not really a political player, you don't like to talk, you don't like to show hand, you don't like to help give and take a little bit throughout the game, you're gonna have a really difficult time dealing with split second people. Split second, like if I cast a Ristic Study and you have a counterspell to my Ristic Study, a really good political play now is, hey, here's my force of will. I won't hit your Ristic Study. You let my Ristic Study resolve. You can't use split second against me. Like you can use it against the opponents, but you can't use it against me. Like for the entire game. That's the only way to really deal with split second is to try to politic it. So good luck trying to politic it. There's times where like I would definitely take that deal, and there's times where I wouldn't take that deal, depending on the pod composition. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at next is how do we politic our way through split second games?
Yeah. And I've been trying like mini deals too, where you have a scheming symmetry and you have multiple people who would be a valid target, and you can get, the person who will say, "Oh, I won't use wipe away on your engines this game. I'll give you the scheming symmetry." I even had a scenario where people were bargaining not using split second for a Tatar draw. So like there's spots where you can really leverage getting your opponents to not split second you as long as you're specific. Like don't wipe away my tide this game. People will often make that deal. And if the game gets big enough, it's going to come up.
Yeah. And people are willing to make that deal because it's like, well, I'm not even close to being at that point in the game where I'm even thinking about that yet. And we're over here trying to politic those deals now. That way, when those things come up later, it's not like a huge contentious conversation. Like that deal's already been like
Yeah.
solidified. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think split second super unfair. So if you're not playing it, then you're basically not playing like the most broken unfair cards in the game, like so good. And I've won a game where I just double wipe away Krut Trigger. He won the coin flip, double wipe away, took his fish away from him, and his smothering tithe absolutely took over the rest of the game. If you don't have
It was
uh
horrible.
if you don't have split second, and someone has a board state, CEDH is all about getting that board state that's like you can't do anything to stop them at that point. Their engines are fully going. Well, the only thing that stops that massive end game board state is split second. So there's multiple times at a table where I'm like, well, I have everything. I got VV, I got Krark, I got Harmonic Prodigy, I got Tavern Scoundrel, I got Stormkill Artist, I got Mayhem Devil, I got everything. Like, if you guys don't have split second, I just win the game. And if they do have split second, then we keep fighting. If they don't, it's kind of a wrap. So hopefully you guys see the power of split second and start trying it out in your games. Anything else you want to say, Handel?
Oh yeah, it's very very powerful. And I think the first time that somebody steals your win with a split second spell, it's a radicalizing moment. And from then on, you just see the power.
Yep. So we had to get this video out. Sorry it took a little bit of time. Been a little tired and not feeling the best. So like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. Try split second. Let me know how it goes in your decks. And we definitely recommend picking up the Slop Clue Farm or TNK if you want to play whatever commander you want to play. Sans Green Slop, as we call it. It's really good. It has a ton of interaction. I'll link Indel's deck list in the description. and I would definitely take
Yeah.
that to your locals and try that out because it's
When
disgusting.
you vamp tutor for a split second spell, it is insane.
Yeah,
Like, other slop decks don't get to do that, and it's cracked.
yeah, or mystical tutor. Like even if like your mystical tutor resolves, you're like, well, I'm gonna go get a split second card. If
If
they,
you mystical, they know about it, but when you
it
vamp
doesn't
for it,
matter.
you can just hide it.
Yeah, you can hide it. The thing is,
And
they don't.
that's
It doesn't matter. Like even if they know it's there, you're gonna draw a card because they can't pay for every single heuristic. You're gonna draw a card, and then because it's split second, there's just nothing they can do. Nothing. It's going to
true.
resolve. Every trigger on the deck's going to resolve. Like ah, it's so fun. I love it. I love just knowing I have it in my hand, and there's I guess you could technically morph and like stop it that way. There's a few or like
Yeah.
counterbalance. You can counterbalance right in response, but
Yeah.
very rare board states in order to stop a split second. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content and you learned something new here. If you want to hear more from Indil and I, like and subscribe. It really helps the video out. Thank you.
Okay.